What's going on, hockey fans? The third and final installment of the All Dan K and All Lucas J teams are finally here. The NCDC squads are set to be drafted right now, live on your air, on your TV screens, wherever and whenever you are watching. The Dan K Show is here with its player first mentality. And before I introduce in my right hand man, what I have to do is remind you that the Dan K Show scholarships are getting announced next week. Our two winners, the Jerry and Lori Wilhite scholarship of $1,000, the Dan K Show scholarship of $1,000. Those will be announced with their winners next week. We are so excited to continue our player first mantra. Going forward, if you want to find out more about how to donate to that scholarship fund to raise money for these players working so hard nationwide and their families, you can go to dankshow.com and contact us there to find out more. Now I introduce in my right-hand man, my consigliere, Mon Frere from another mare, and a man that you know it's off-season mode time when that mustache gets to Movember moves right now. Lucas Jones, what's going on, babes?
It is the off season, which brings with it a lot. It brings with it the start of baseball season, the wonderful start of America's pastime, slightly altered and then altered again and then altered again and then altered again, such that, if you leave to go to the bathroom during a baseball game, you miss 3 innings. It also brings with it tax season. You're looking at a man who got in just under the deadline, as is tradition, a tradition unlike any other, sliding in right before that cutoff. That means, Dan, I'm tired, but I'll tell you what, I have a clarity of thought to talk about these NCDC players. This was one where we kind of went back and forth. We even had to go back and kind of change a couple of things because there was just so many people we wanted to be included on this list.
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs in these roster creations. We are about to draft it. Lucas flipped the coin off the air. It was a $50. It was a half
It
dollar.
was. It is actually my desk $50 that I always keep here for some reason. Don't know why it's here, but it's been here for quite a while.
And Dan K won the toss. I got the choice of either forwards first or defense first. I went forward, so I get my first top forward line. Lucas, how does that make you feel?
It's predictable. I think it's something that we all look forward to, is you taking your forward line first.
And that's what we're going to do right now. We start with Team Dan K's first NCDC forward line. My first overall pick, the guy led the league in points by a lot. Led the NCDC in points by 14. Led it in assists by 18. Caden Cranston, the year 2004, the former Buffalo Stampede, who was an All Dan K Premier Team member last year. And people said, what is this young guy doing on this squad? What's his future look like? I said the future is bright, and it sure has been from the Rockets Hockey Club. I put him next to another guy who was on my All Dan K Premier Team last year, showing our NCDC coaches and owners and GMs how important it is to use that cradle to college mantra. Tyler McNasty. Tyler McNeil, the year 2002 for the Jersey Hitmen. He led the league in points at the halfway point, ended the year with 59 total. He's been a back-to-back All-Dan K team selection. Finally, one of my favorite players in the NCDC, maybe my favorite out there on the ice, Easton Ryan, the year 2003 from the Boston Junior Bruins, who has 104 career NCDC points and still eligibility to play one more year in Tier 2.
Well, Cranston and McNeil are examples of, like you say, Dan, what happens when you do trust in cradle to college, when you do get out there and complete the mission statement, right? It's finding this young talent wherever it may exist. And, as you saw in our Elite Premier teams, there is a heck of a lot of young talent in the Elite and Premier in the USPHL. And Easton Ryan is so competitive, right? Calm, cool, collected. I love the way he plays the game of hockey. He has been a favorite for both of ours for a while now. And now I get my two forward lines. And I always like drafting my forward lines back to back. That's why I don't mind when you take the first forward line here. I'm going to go with guys that just stood out to me all season, right? Guys who either put up a ton of points or just I like the way they played. First pick is going to be Cade Baker from the Rockets Hockey Club. Second pick, Luca Layton from the Pal Junior Islanders, your championship Pal Junior Islanders. And Luke Panchizin from the Boston Advantage. It's 203s and an 02. Baker and Layton up there with 63 points. Panchizin 67 career points in 68 games. He is consistency. You can count on him to be there if there's hockey being played.
Yeah, and he was a star of the game in the NCDC All-Star game, not that Young Guns game, but that NCDC All-Star game. Luca Layton, this is a guy we've grown to love watching over the years, man. I feel like we've been covering him forever. 108 career points, the most on this line for you in their career, 67 for Luke, 100 total for Cade Baker. Cade Baker, the goal maker. That's what we call him and Shane. Lucas, this is your second Baker drafted amongst your last two teams. You had Ben Baker from the Atlanta Mad Hatters in your last draft. Now you got Cade Baker. Is he going to get Shane later on in the draft? We'll have to keep watching to find out.
Well, my goal, Dan, is if you want bread, you're going to have to go through me to get it. My second line here is Michael DePietra from the Jersey Hitmen, Jack Hillier from the South Shore Kings, and Trace Norwell from the Twin City Thunder. DePietra and Hillier are names that are pretty synonymous. DePietra with a huge career, not just for the Hitmen, but for the NCDC. Most games played all time in NCDC history with 183. Jack Hillier coming up huge in the playoffs this season with 7 total points. And Trace Norwell, you want to talk about a guy who plays the game the right way? Trace Norwell plays the game of hockey with a kind of like a solidness is the way I would describe him, right? He's 5'7", 160. He plays about 6'8", 260 when he's out there. He doesn't get moved. He's got good hands, good hockey IQ, just an intelligent, heady player that's an asset to any team.
Michael DePietra ties a growing list of players who have been on an all Dan K or all Lucas J team for 3 consecutive seasons. I will tell you the big storyline coming out of this. He might have the most games played all time in NCDC history. Caden Cranston, Lucas, is somebody who, over the next 2 years, if he continues in the NCDC and continues up this ladder of development, he could get 4 consecutive and be the first to ever do it. There's not many who've made their way onto the squad early enough in their career to punch that ticket. Caden could do that. Michael DePietra, though, this is a guy, lunch pail to work player, we called him a bunch of years ago. We saw him for the first time at the Rockets Hockey Club against the Jersey Hitmen and fell in love with him then. Since then, he's had an incredible career, 52 points this season. Jack Hillier and Trace Norwell, the story is playoff performance. 10 points in the postseason for Norwell, 7 points in the postseason for Hillier, who nearly won a cup. Incredible seasons for them. I got to get to my second forward line here. And I got to start. This one, I want this to be kind of like my hodgepodge line, right? I want a little size in front of the net. I want a guy who can kill penalties, can kind of bounce around for me, can change lines. And then I want a guy who sets the giraffe on fire, okay? So I've got Michael Herrera from the Utica Junior Comets, who had 3 shorthanded goals this year, tied for the league lead. 5'9" tall, 180-pound rock there from the Euro 2 for the Utica Junior Comets. Then I got a guy going to Army. Dan K's favorite player, as we know, the Baron. Baron Woodring. I always think there should be a Baron Von Woodring in there, but this guy is the Baron. He's an Army commit. What a career he has had. He is another 3-time All-Dan K NCDC team selection. DePietra's gone back and forth between our teams. Baron Woodring has been selected by Dan K every single year. He is a 3-time All-Dan K team NCDC selection. And then Marco Giraffe, a guy we got to see on a scout cast earlier this year. 52 points for him, 71 career NCDC points, going from 19 points last season to 52 this season, Lucas. What a year for Marco Giraffe.
Yeah, Giraffe, you love to see that. Anytime you see a player who drastically increases their points, you know they are absolutely battling. And Herrera, 3 shorthanded goals is a great stat, but he's just a really solid forward who plays the game well. And Dan, I would try to draft Woodring if I didn't think it would make you immediately quit the show and go on strike. So, he's going to end up on one of our teams. Happy to continue the tradition here.
Yeah, you love to see it for him. Let's go to my third forward line. This is where it gets real fun for me. This third forward line, I always like to mix the size, the biggest guy in your forward groups, right? With your quick speedster, little guy creates, get your assists, and then kind of mix that in-betweener that can kind of win you face-offs, win you the draw in the circle, and can facilitate. So that's what I've got in this third forward line. Benjamin Jenkinson starts it off in the South Shore Kings. 86 career NCDC points for the 6-foot-tall, 202-pound left-handed shot. Then he's joined by the big man, Heike Virtanen. And if he comes back to PAL next year, I'm telling you right now, I think he'll be the best player in the NCDC. I think he'll lead the league in points. PAL's own left winger, 6'6". The note at the bottom, really, really tall. 6 goals in the postseason on the way to a Deneen Cup championship. And finally, Cam Bergman. Bergman with 57 points. He started with Jason Kersner, playing this year with Jared Kersner. 5'6" tall, creative, 83 career NCDC points. I really love this line.
Yeah, Virtanen was it was a force to be reckoned with, right, in the NCDC championship, coming in with a lot of size, a lot of good ability. South Shore Kings, we talked about on the broadcast, they tried to play hack-a-shack against him, right? That was the strategy from game one. That was a good strategy, but Virtanen was able to persevere. Love Jenkinson as well. That is a huge amount of points coming through the NCDC. That is consistency. And what a job Bergman's done. And is an 0-3, right? So has another year left, 57 points in the season. I mean, this Rockets Hockey Club team just consistently puts out incredible talent. Bergman is one of the latest examples of that talent. Just a guy who accepts what the direction that he's given. When he plays for a good team, he's able to kind of mirror that out on the ice. So you love to see that. Lucas,
let's get to your third and fourth forward lines now. I'm excited to see who you got. I'm hoping that there's a baker in here somewhere. We're really going to take over all the bread.
Well, there is. I'm a big bread guy now. I got a younger brother who looks just like me, who just keeps sending me Snapchats of all the sourdough he makes, and it really makes me jealous. So you know what? I'm taking Shane Baker as well. And Shane Baker is an 0-4. So stacking up a little bit of youth on this line as well. He's going to be joined by 2 0-3s. Tomas Toth from the Connecticut Junior Rangers and Michael Felsing from the Northern Cyclones. This is a kind of a upper mid-sized line as well, right? 5'11" for Felsing, 6'1" for Toth, 5'10" for Baker. I just like the combination of size. And let's talk about these point totals as well, right? You're up there around the 40-point range. You've got guys who are leading teams. We're putting up career numbers. I think this is a really, really dynamic line.
Yeah, like Peter Brenner from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. If I see Michael Felsing, I praise to the Lord, I'll slay him. Or swear to the Lord. I don't know what he says in that line. But what a job with the Van Helsing musical by Peter Brenner. But an even better job than that, Michael Felsing each and every day out in the ice. You could have put Peyton Hicks here from Northern. You could put Michael Felsing here. This is a team that just battles till the very end. That center, 5'11", 185, creative at 47 points this year. Thomas Toth, you just love anybody who plays for Jim Henkel who has that kind of energy, right? Leading in points, leading in goals. This guy was a world leader for Jim Henkel and his squad. And then Shane Baker with 64 career NCDC points. He's, again, a goal maker, right? He's an 0-4. He's got a big career ahead of him. A lot more to see from Shane. Lucas, you got one more forward line to put together.
Absolutely. And there's going to be another 0-4 on this line, and Braxton Powers from the Islanders Hockey Club. He's going to be joined by an 0-2 from the Utica Junior Comets, Vladislav Shnechnikov. And, you brought up a couple of guys that have been on your all-Dan K team before. I had to do the same thing here because I was really impressed by the season Teague Porter had with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. He's an 0-2. He was an all-premier team selection last year and all NCDC team selection this year. We had a couple of guys who came from other squads to the NCDC, right? Teams not in-house. Teague Porter is a great example of what happens when you develop those teams in-house, right? When you really put the focus and the effort into your premier and elite teams, you can bring these guys then up into the NCDC model, right? Another example of the way it's supposed to work. So I love watching Teague Porter play, and 22 points on the season. So a fantastic job by Porter.
Yeah, and this is a guy who was a premier selection last year for you, and he was a game-winning. He was the cardiac kid, right? He scored that late goal every time you needed it. You talk about Sinechnikov, and this is a guy who hat trick in a game against that Wilkes-Barre team with Teague Porter on it a couple months back, and then Braxton Powers. It's a futures pick, right? These fourth lines, we like to use them for the future of the game. We like to kind of pick guys that we think are going to have big years up and coming, guys who are right on the cusp of kind of figuring it out. Braxton Powers is that guy. 3 power play goals, 1 shorthanded goal. That tells you what? Played in the power play unit, played on a PK unit. He was on both sides of the ice. Let's get to the all Dan K line here, okay? This is a line modeled after my own heart. Okay, this is my fourth forward line. And we talk about the all Dan K team. I like to think of the team I put together as a team that Madden used to put together back in his day, right? The all Madden team. And the point that all those guys would talk about, They didn't care about being an all-pro. They didn't care about being in the Pro Bowl. They didn't care about MVPs. They cared if John Madden put them on his list. And why? It's because they did the little things, right? They grinded the game out. They were just a different type of player. That's what this fourth line's all about for me. And we start with number 28 from the Boston Junior Bruins, Laser Cat. Pew, 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 pew. Aaron Catron, the year 02, aging out this season with 51 career NCDC points. I've loved watching him play over the years. Then we put Stack next to him, the star of the game in the NCDC Young Guns game, Nathan Stakowiak of the South Shore Kings, who nearly won himself a cup this year. And then the mustache and the flow, a guy who looks like he could play for you Boston back in 1982 right now, Ryder Nienhaus, 03 from the Mercer Chiefs, another year left in his career. He's 6'4". He's 213. He's got a mustache. He had a 5-point performance and a 6-5 OT win for Mercer earlier this year against South Shore, a team that won the cup. He nearly helped get his team to a Deneen Cup final. Just couldn't get past PAL at the end of it. 35 points. I think the Mercer Chiefs might just be the favorite to do it next season. This line is incredible. Pew, 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 pew. Laser Cat.
Yeah, Ryder had a good season, and he's the person who scores points, and then we'll have his games, right? His games where he sees something and he gets after it. He can be an X factor, right? And he can be the main factor sometimes as well. Stakowiak and 04, a lot of young talent, that South Shore squad. I loved watching them in the championship. They battled hard every single game. And Dan, you made this graphic. Would you care to explain, just in case we still have a few stragglers here, why we've replaced Aaron Catron with a cat shooting laser beams out of his eyes?
First of all, I was pretty sure that was Aaron Catron's picture, but I guess you're going to say it isn't. The reason why is the last name, Cat, as in El Gato, in Espanol, Cat, and Tron, a movie that maybe some of these players maybe aged out from Tron, but they did remake it recently. Not well, but they remade it. Tron, a very kind of futuristic new age movie. Laser Cat, something that kind of reminds me of Cat and Tron coming together into a name. And Laser Cat, something that if you have never seen Laser Cats, I really, you know what? I suggest go to YouTube and look up Laser Cats from SNL. Enjoy yourself. Have some fun. That's the Laser Cat, Aaron Catron. And that is our forwards, or those are our forwards, however you want to say it, grammatically correct or incorrect. Lucas, you get to start in the defensive end.
I do get to pick my dream defensive pairing here, and I'm going to go right to that championship game. I watched all 3 games, obviously, being in the rink. I got a lot of time to watch them during the third game, as I wasn't doing much speaking during that particular game. But that just gave me more time to be at ice level watching these defensive guys go to work. I liked Jack Hewitt. I liked Jack Barbaro. The Jack line here. Pal Junior Islanders, Jack Hewitt, 5'11", 177. Jack Barbaro, 5'10", 183. So similar size, similar intensity. They are kind of your pacemakers, your pace setters, right? They get out there and they let you know that they're there. They're not hiding away. They're not shying away. They're impact players. And if there was a play to be made, odds are one of them was making it.
Yeah, it might have been one of the worst production jobs in the history of sport, keeping Lucas off the air for 3 consecutive days. But I'll tell you what wasn't bad. The defensive outputs from both of these sides. It was defensemen, it was goaltenders. That was the story of this national championship, and really was the story of the NCDC all year. I think the defensemen and the goaltenders outshined our forwards this season, and not for lack of effort from the forwards. I think defense wins championships, and you see a lot of defensive end players here in this NCDC who are ready to go play NCAA Division I. Jack Hewitt and Jack Barbaro calling this year bartender line. Okay, this is the 4 horsemen line. Jack and Jack Hewitt and Jack Barbaro. What a year for them. How about Jack Barbaro with 12 points in the postseason, 6 goals.
Huge.
A huge postseason for him. But you left me my 2 favorite defensemen in the NCDC.
Convenient.
You left me wide open here. I love Hewitt. I love Barbaro, but these are 2 guys I've been talking about for years. Another 3-time All-Dan K team member, Sean Melso, aging out this season. The left defenseman is the all-time leading NCDC scorer for defensemen. And this year, he led all NCDC defensemen in regular season scoring with 51 points, 15 goals, 36 assists. They don't come better than Sean Melso, man. This guy is built to win championships. This guy's a winner through year in and year out. Continues to win with the Jersey Hitmen. What a career for him. And then the most underrated defenseman in junior hockey, Trevor Davis. This guy was playing a little dinged up as the season went on, still put together a great year. 6'3", 185. This guy is built like a truck. 31 points. Trevor Davis, Sean Melso. This is the pair I would have picked if you gave me the first overall pick.
Yeah, I love that, and I agree. Right, I think this year has shown especially that the defensemen and the goalies have really risen up to the occasion. Right, because from the forward position, you had a lot of really great talent, but I think it's because the goalies and the defense were so incredible that, as well as people played, you don't have those crazy numbers that you sometimes see. Right, but it's because that mining the defense are so good, and look no farther than these two to see an incredible defensive pairing. Great job on that.
Yeah, and I got an even better one coming up. I'm excited about this one too. Connor Lally of the Boston Advantage and Xander Lazat. Lazat is a two-time All-Dan K team member. He's a left defenseman, 5'8", 162. We saw him in Hub City a few years back. It feels like decades ago now. But we saw him in Hub City skating 40, 45 minutes a game at times when needed. 126 career NCDC games played. He's been so fun to watch. And then you pair him up with Connor Lally, right hand, left hand between these two. 40 points for Lally this season, 33 assists, 63 career NCDC points. Congratulations to these two gentlemen on an incredible junior hockey career.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Lally, what a job. There was so many players in that Advantage team that we just enjoyed watching. I really think that Advantage side recruited great talent, developed great talent. And I think for the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs as well, Xander Lazat is just someone who fits really well into that system. He plays with a lot of passion, a lot of intensity. I do need to make a quick point to all of our junior hockey teams out there. When you take someone's headshot,
yes, go ahead.
Please frame their head in like the 2/3 at least, right? And you can see Connor Lally's picture showing off the fit, showing off the good suit jacket, the pink tie with the blue blazer. I love that look. I rock that look. Yeah, it'll make him look like he's 8'11", a little Boston Advantage halo behind him. Great. I love the pink and the blue. Fantastic. But the Xander Lazat photo, I had to crop very severely because only his head was visible. Please, as a fellow 5'8" person, just drop the camera a bit. Not much.
Jones, I'm down here. Please bring the camera to me. I'd like to be seeing the pictures.
It's incredibly you can't carry an apple box with you everywhere anymore because we're not like horse and buggy situation. Just move the camera down. That would be stellar.
Lucas Jones, a man who's never been in the second row of any picture ever taken.
Only when I was a teacher. Only in class photos.
There you go.
But also just barely. Oh, it's so hard. It's hard enough picking forwards, Dan, and it's even harder picking defensemen, because there's less, right? There's less on a roster. But I like a combination of some veteran presence and some youth here. Yeah. Veteran presence, Mitchell Flouquet, 02, Utica Junior Comets. Utica Junior Comets, NCDC team, by the way, if you haven't noticed already, has put a ton of talent on the ice. There's been a lot of names that have popped up. I'm going to pair him with someone else from the Powell Junior Islanders that I absolutely enjoyed watching, Colson Hanrahan, who is an 05. And I was actually stunned when I saw 05 on the line sheet because watching him play, you'd think he's someone who has years and years of more under his belt, right? Someone who plays like an 02, 03, who kind of knows where to be before he has to be there. When you talk about a guy who's 5'10", 170, with still more years to play, to build, to grow, to get better, that's going to be a talent you have to watch out for.
Yeah, Colson Hanrahan, I mean, it tells you how good this PAL team is when you've got your young defenseman, you've got your KG vet, you've got everything you need on this team already. Then you've got Mitchell Flouquet, and it reminds you folks at home, Flouquet is important, right? We should take care of our flow, and you should do so with Body Trick. Go to body-trick.com today and get their spray for your flow to take care of your flow today. But Mitchell is so good, 43 career NCDC points, 34 this season. He's 6 foot. He's got the size you want at that position. Then he got 1 goal, 20 assists at a Colson Hanrahan, but he led PAL in assists for all defensemen. Great start for him. Lucas, let's hear the next one.
You worked that in so smooth. Nobody noticed.
Did-
Nobody
did- What
noticed.
what was worked in? I didn't see it. I blacked out. When I go into ad mode, I black out. I do not know what's happening.
That's
And
it.
do you not know what's happening when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel a little bit hazy? You're probably not getting the sleep you need, and it might be due to snoring. Go to remasteredsleep.com today. Put in Dan K Show at checkout for 10% off your order of the water bottle of your dreams. What happened?
Oh, he's back. Don't worry about it. Nothing important happened while you were gone. I'm just getting ready to pick my third defensive pairing here. And, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I watch a lot of Twin City Thunder hockey throughout the season. Um, I watch a lot of Twin City Thunder defensemen throughout the season, and I watch a lot of Blake Tierney and Nicholas Pomerleau. 203s, two defensemen, nearly identical, right? They're both 03, 5'9, 163 for Tierney, 160 for Pomerleau. They're 22 points, 25 points. It's like you carbon copied a great defenseman, and now you've got two of them. Something about that Hodge Twin City Thunder system just puts out great defensive work year after year after year. And I think these two are great examples of defensive defensemen, guys who play the position the way it was intended to be played. And then when they get freed up and they get involved in the offense, they can be accurate and they can be deadly.
Yeah, Dan Hodge is synonymous with defense. The Hodge name synonymous with defense for years and years and years and generations of this game. Pomerleau and Tierney, both 03s. This Twin City Thunder team, be careful for these guys next season. These could be the early clubhouse favorites up in the North Division. Gotta watch out for these two and this Twin City side. Let's go to my final defensive pair. And again, we get to a place where I kind of get to pick my guys here, right? And you can kind of see how Lucas and I went. PAL winning a championship, defense wins championship. Their defense was great all year. The first guy I'm picking is Zach Hahn. And Zach Hahn from the PAL Junior Islanders, this might not be the number one defenseman in all the land, right? But this is a young man that we got a chance to watch kind of grow through the game. The cradle to college mantra for real. He was growing up on skates in Long Island, playing in this PAL system, worked all the way through the ranks, made his way to the NCDC, and the improvement in his shot, the improvement in his passing game, the improvement of his game on the back end, the 200-foot game that Zach Hahn plays today didn't exist a couple of years back. And that's the whole point of the development word in NCDC. Zach Hahn, he is synonymous with NCDC in my mind, with the PAL Junior Islanders. 6'1", 200 pounds, a big dude, good pedigree, 20 points, 6 goals, 14 assists this year. Did it offensively, did it defensively, and he also wins my award for the most improved player this season. I put him next to Killer. Charles Killian. When you look at him on the website, left defenseman, 5'10", 191. This guy reminds me of Jude Brower. He kind of played like him this season, and Jude Brower's having a good time up there in the Division I ranks. 49 games played, 23 points, 35 career NCDC points. Killer and Hahn. This is how I had my fourth forward line. That was my all Dan K guys. These are my all Dan K guys on the defensive pair. These are the two I'm going to if you tell me I got to put a roster together right now.
Yeah, these two are huge. I love the most improved player, note right there as well, because that's the whole point, right?
Yep.
We've called it out on a couple of players who improve their point totals. And one of the things that we look at when we're putting these teams together is, are you improving? Are you getting better, right? Whether you're staying on one level, right? Whether you're in elite premier NCDC and improving, or whether you're moving, through the organizations, right? As long as you are improving and getting better, that is a huge indication that you are ready to continue to improve at the next level. Love these two picks.
Now I get my extra skater, and this is my futures pick right here. The first overall pick in the 2022 NCDC entry draft, Brayton Frick, didn't just kind of get drafted. A lot of times you get drafted and then we think about you later on. Nope, this guy comes in, puts up 18 points in his first season. He's got a huge future in front of him, 5'8", 197, Brayton Frick and Coach Timmy K. I like this tandem.
Yeah, it's a perfect spot. I think we talked about it during the draft a little bit last year when we did our kind of recap stuff, that it's a good spot for him. And you can see it here, 11 goals, 7 assists, 18 total points in the season. I just think there's a lot of development that can be had in IHC. They're a good organization. They have great coaches, right, that understand the game, that know what they're doing. And I think Brayton Frick is in the right hands there, and he shows that he's up to the challenge.
Yeah, and
And
if
that,
you want to get drafted in the entry draft, tune in later this month. We're going to have a little bit of coverage of it behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. It'll be exciting. Stay tuned to the USPHL.com to find out all the info you need on entry draft coverage. Lucas, your final extra skater.
my extra skater, I go to the Rockets Hockey Club, I go to a Quinnipiac commit, and I go to Jonah Copre, an 03 defenseman, 5'3", 145. Again, plays 9 feet tall. I'm one of the best things about being a color commentator, and I've said it a bunch, is I get to watch behind the play. I get to watch how these defensemen are moving. I get to watch how guys play off the puck. And, obviously he leads the Rockets in points. So he's up there in the point total with 39, 31 assists, right? Facilitating the offense, getting it moving, playing the transition game. Copre is going to be a massive asset to Quinnipiac.
Yep. Oh, for sure. You look at the way he plays the game, like he leaves forwards co-praying whether they're ever going to put a puck in the back of the net again. That's where he leaves them at. Incredible year for him. Let's get to goalies. I will start with my first goalie pick. I could pick the best regular season goalie. I could. But I'm going to pick the guy who won a Deneen Cup championship by putting the team on his back. Cameron Smith, the St. Lawrence commit, 6'2", 162. He went 27-9-1-4 this year in the regular season, 223 goals against, 940 saves. The guy was untouchable in the postseason. Lights, Cameron Smith.
Yeah, that says it all, right? Deneen Cup final MVP, huge save percentage, great work during the playoffs. Cam Smith is absolutely lights out, right? He is an incredible goalie. He's shown that all year. But you did leave me with two really good ones here. And you talk about a league that puts great net minding out there at year after year. How about a team that puts great minding out there year after year? The Jersey Hitmen and JJ Cataldo, an 03, 1.70 goals against, 0.953 save percentage, 9 shutouts this season. You talk about your forward lines all you want. Good luck.
Yeah.
9 of his 21 wins are shutouts. That's nuts. And he's going to be joined on that roster. I could swap him out after the first. You know why? Because I got a guy coming in the second who's a brick wall, quite literally. Mason, the brick wall, Joseph, another 03 from the Connecticut Junior Rangers. Much like a brick wall could probably have pucks fired at it all day and be fine. Joseph also had that happen to him this season, making 1,180 saves this season and putting up a 931 save percentage in the process.
It takes every piece of me to not try to steal the brick wall from you, since I gave him the nickname, the Mason, the brick wall Joseph. 18-11, 2-2, 268, 931. He's made 1,180 saves this season. What a year for Mason. Can't believe I really thought Connecticut, if they made the tournament, were going to run for it all just because of how good Mason was between the pipes. And then JJ Cataldo, I mean, what else do you have to say? This guy's got a zillion career wins already in the NCDC. He's the guy in Jersey. He'd be the guy in any net he's in. 9 shutouts this season. Just absolutely stupid good. But stupid of you, Lucas, to leave 2 more great netminders to me. And we start with a guy from the South Shore Kings who was in the title matchup against Cameron Smith, and maybe less about his regular season numbers and even more about his postseason numbers. Jacob Torgner of the South Shore Kings, 6'1", 195, 14-8, 2-1 this year, 207 goals against, 935 saves. But when he got to the postseason, he goes 5-1, 2-0, 195 goals against. This guy did it each and every day. And then I got to find another netminder. The problem is I'd love to put 2 guys here, both of the Twin City netminders. But Christopher Jackson, I only had room for him because he had 10 more saves, just 10. The stats almost identical, Lucas. It was absolutely crazy to look up these stats for these 2 netminders in Twin City. You talk about the success this year in net for Christopher Jackson. This is a young man who stopped just about every puck he saw. Christopher Jackson, let's look at him. a 922 saves percentage. His net minding counterpart, Trey Miller with the Twin City Thunder, 923. So I could have gone Trey there. Then we look at 274 goals against for Trey Miller. For Christopher Jackson, 271. Ooh, it's back to Christopher Jackson. That's a huge difference between those two stats, right? Then you look at how many goals allowed. Both of them allowed 69 goals on the season. Exactly the only differentiator between the two. 10 extra shots go against Trey Miller, but I went with the 271 goals against over the 274. I don't know. You could have gone either way. Trey Miller, Christopher Jackson. You can think of it as me picking both of them here in this spot.
Yeah, that's again amazing. You talk about that. This is a team full of right hand, left hand. I took both defensemen; they were essentially the same. You've got essentially both netminders here, putting up similar numbers. That Twin City team, they are just so competitive. They're so good at what they do. And Torgner, I mean, an absolutely rock solid netminder. There were no soft goals at all that he's given up this season. None in the championship. He battled against a really dynamic PAL team, especially in games 2 and 3, that were just throwing everything they had at him, right? And he did a fantastic job keeping as many pucks out of the net as he did. I am going to finish off my net minding here. I'm going to go back to the Boston Advantage.
Okay.
I'm going to go to an 03, rounding out my 03 netminders, and I'm going to go with Nick Bevilacqua.
Yep.
Just a great season. 2.83 goals against, 919 save percentage. But again, he's someone you have to watch. That's my big thing with net minding, is defensemen and net minding especially. You need to watch. And for defensemen and net minders out there, you know, the forwards always get a highlight reel. You guys need to make sure you've got reels too, and not just the flashy stuff, right? The little things, making the saves, moving well, efficiency of movement, making smart decisions, because you have to watch Nick Bevilacqua. He's got great stats. He looks even better in person. Confident in the crease, physical presence, smart netminder. It's just been a joy to watch. 1624 career saves in the NCDC.
Call this guy Nick Bevilacqua Velvet, because this guy's silky smooth with the glove and the mitt. Okay, that's what this guy's all about. Here's the coolest stat about him. You want to talk about development, you want to talk about working up the ladder. Last season was tough for the Advantage, right? He had 1 win. This season, 21 wins. The difference in year over year for this young man, a 20 win differential in the right direction. 21, 8, 3, and 1, 283, 919 saves percentage. Absolutely love it. Lucas, we've got to pick our coaches. You've got first dibs here.
Yes, I do. And it's funny the way that it kind of works out, right? Because you've got kind of, we talk about how good the development is across the league, and that comes from the coaches, right? It comes from the staff. But you do have to talk about a coach that's been grinding away to championship for a couple of years now. The coach in Mike Marcoux, who has gotten himself that championship, right? It's not a flash in the pan PAL team. It's a team that has been grinding, developing, strategizing, getting ready for their moment. They captured it. They took home the Dineen Cup.
I adore Mike Marcoux. This is a guy who does everything right when it comes to coaching, when it comes to development. It's a young guy who gets it, young king, as we call it. This is a guy who's had his own battles, man, who's battled through, perseveres each and every day of life. This is a guy who knows every ferry schedule on the planet, inside and out, upside down. This is a guy who coached his way to a title game. He got out-coached in game 1 of that Dineen Cup series, right? Tyler Holsky came in and it was great, did a great job, and then figured it out. Marcoux, you just saw the wheels churning, the guy battling back, wins himself a Dineen Cup. The only person I could pick next is Tyler Holsky, another young king with a great season. You lose Drew Omacholi, holy cannoli, what a big loss that was, right? You say, ravioli, ravioli, where is Drew Omacholi? Instead, you end up with Tyler Holsky, and Tyler Holsky does what? Goes to the freaking title series, is 1 win away from winning it all. I love the way Tyler Holsky coaches. I love the guy he is, man. He works his butt off. It's a family affair there in South Shore, too, for the Holsky family. This guy is a young king supreme behind the bench. I think you might see Marcoux and Holsky one day coaching against each other at the NHL ranks if they keep it up. I also want to add Rob Broderick. Robbie Broads, man. And he may not be the best emailer on planet Earth. I may send him an email in need of an answer, and he may say okay or thumbs up, thinking that it's not something that I needed more than an okay on. But when it comes to behind the bench, this guy gets it. When it comes to player development, this guy gets it. When it comes to caring about what he's doing, this guy gets it. This Mercer Chiefs team, nowhere to go but up. They bring in Tarantino, a guy who we've golfed with a little bit, Lucas, as his assistant coach next year in the NCDC. This team's going to be buzzing. Mercer Chiefs, early favorite in the South Division for Dan K next season.
Yeah, I mean, Holski's season and his experience as a coach, I think, speaks for itself, right? Developing players, connecting with players, big X's and O's guy, understands the game. Holski has an incredibly bright future. And Broderick, he knows how to build the squad, right? He knows the personalities. He can get in there, he can recruit. Adding Tarantino is huge there. That's going to really, really add a lot to this side. But I love Broderick coming into the USPHL in season one and having the season that he had in this league is just a testament to him. And now I get to pick my assistant coach here. And this was kind of he's going to be my everyman. He's going to be my Swiss Army knife. He might coach. He might also be my director of hockey TV operations now that he's setting up encoders. He's repairing cameras. He's getting out there. He's doing everything. It's Mike Anderson. And the reason that I took Mike Anderson from the Junior Bruins here is not just because of his ability to wear 9 hats in an organization, but because of his dedication to the idea here. And the idea is that his team didn't have the season they wanted, that we're used to the Boston Junior Bruins having. He went young. He went young. And after we had a lot of talks about it, right, Dan, we've talked about how the NCDC should go younger often on this show. And he went young, and he went down and he grabbed a lot of young players and tried to develop them. And the first part of the season wasn't up to what he wanted, but the back half of the season was a huge improvement. Just think that's the way that this level of hockey is going. And Mike Anderson went there first, took a big risk. It's the kind of guy, it's the kind of dedication and the foresight and the vision that I want on my side.
I absolutely love it, man. Mike Anderson's a guy who we adore, and we don't make that private, right? This is a guy who just works his butt off. That's the best way to put it. He's a guy who we got the Mike Anderson meter on the bench for when we know how he's feeling about his team in a certain given game, whether he's back against the glass just chilling or he's up on the boards ready to yell, ready to get the boys going. Love the work he's doing, and he did it right, like you said. Youngest team in the league. You look at this squad that he put together. This is a futures team. You got guys like Julian Brown on there. You got some of these players that are going to end up in the USHL. They're going to end up in Division I. They're going to end up in the pro ranks, just like everyone else, that come from that Boston Junior Bruins development model. What a job by Mike Anderson. Lucas, you've got an owner to pick now. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to go right back to the PAL Junior Islanders here. PAL putting it together this year under the leadership of Ron Kinnear. And Ron Kinnear is someone who's continuing to invest in the game, right? Continuing to get involved in the ownership of a couple of different teams in different areas of the country, growing the game of hockey by putting more opportunities to play. That is mission statement number one. And you know what? When we were getting ready for trophy celebrations, he was right there on the ground, helping out guys, moving stuff around, being an operations guy, putting on that operations hat. Just someone who can manage all the aspects of an organization and do it really well.
Love the work Ron Kinnear does, man. And now he's got the Bold City Battalion. He's got the Florida Junior Blades. He's got the PAL Junior Islanders. That's a cradle to college model if I've ever seen one. And he hires great people. Talk about Lightning Rod Simmons. You talk about Mike Marcoux. You talk about Rhett Vossler in Bold City. The guy knows how to hire the right staff to make things work around him. Proud to work with Ron Kinnear every chance we get. Going to be a lot more of it to do. But I got a guy to pick. This is the second year in a row I picked this guy in this position. And not often in a position like this do we pick someone 2 years in a row, right? A lot of times we try to mix it up. We try to give everyone some love. But I cannot talk more about an organization that won their division in the elite, that won their division in the Premier, and that won their division in the NCDC. First place in every division this organization played in, from top to bottom. Then they go out and dunk on that by purchasing a university. They bought a college, okay, to house their academy, and they bought an entire school, an entire campus at Daniel Webster. Bill Flanagan doesn't just stand up for what we believe in junior hockey, in youth hockey, He stands up for what we believe in women's hockey as well. Congratulations to Team USA on the gold medal. How boot that Canada, Team USA getting the job done. This guy just does everything right. You know, and when it comes to the game of hockey, when it comes to our beliefs on this thing, I love what Bill Flanagan stands for. He could have been a coach of the year, right? But instead, he's an owner of the year. He's just tirelessly working to also put people who are good at what they do in positions to succeed. He brings in a guy like Tony DeLessio, a guy who isn't a guy who wants to be rah-rah behind the bench. He wants to get out there and scout the game of hockey, and he puts him in a position to scout the game. Gets a guy like Bill Dubs and puts him in a GM spot where he can travel the country getting the best players on the planet and coach a premier team that's a wagon every year. A guy like Tim Plummer, the problem child, doing his thing. It just, you talk about Burnsy behind the scenes, getting things done here, like everywhere. It just, you can't get like JT Hankey, Callie Flanagan. Like, it doesn't end with this guy. Every move he makes is just correct. I love Bill Flanagan and the Cyclones organization.
Just making huge strides every season, right? You put him as your owner of the year, and then they go out and they continue to improve, right? It's the same argument. You continue to improve, you continue to develop, continue to get better. Flanagan does that.
I have broadcaster first here, and I hope you pick the guy that I would also pick here if I had two. But in the NCDC, only 14 teams, organizations, so we only have two broadcasters, not two each, like we do in the Premier with all the teams they have. I announced it live on the air. I love this guy. This guy is not just a team player, but he's the best player on the team. He's like Derek Jeter mixed with like a Capitan type guy mixed with A-Rod. The ability of an A-Rod with the leadership of a Jeter. This is one of my favorite people, if not my favorite person ever worked with on the air that's not named Lucas Jones. Brian Rascona of the PAL Junior Islanders. This guy doesn't sleep, works 21 hours a day tirelessly, and like, to watch the effort he puts in and the love and care he has for this PAL team, it is unrivaled, it is unmatched. Back to back, Dan K Show, broadcaster of the year, Brian Rascona.
Yeah, just an incredible professional, right? And knows how to have fun. It was great getting to work the interview desk with him, which I think might be a forever thing now, Dan, this intermission desk that we've put up during Premier Nationals and also NCDC championships. But talking to him a little bit after that, he looks at me and he goes, it's like we've been working together for 10 years. Right. And it's just, he's professional, laid back, understands the art of broadcasting, right? And successful in his own right outside of the junior hockey landscape in terms of, what he does on the radio and for the fan, and just somebody who is not just a bright future, but a bright right now. And Dan, someone who has an equal amount of passion, right? Brian Rascona shaved his beard into a mustache. We were told that he was received with immediate blowback from that. That's passion from Brian Rascona. I want to talk about knowing yourself. Yep. And knowing that he's a beard man through and through. Jefferson Mills from the South Shore Kings, who we got to work with during that championship as well.
Yep.
Jefferson Mills is the South Shore Kings broadcaster, voice of the South Shore Kings. Traveled to Long Island with the team, right? The South Shore Kings making the investment in having a voice, one voice that is not just to be heard on your broadcast, but it also is the voice on your social media. Jefferson Mills doing interviews, doing spots with the players. Jefferson Mills, who also a fixture with the team, going down into the locker rooms before the games, being in the locker room after the game, being a part of the team when they win, when they lose, the successes, the failures. The South Shore Kings making that investment in a voice of the team, in a team personality, I can't overstate how happy that makes me to see, especially when it's someone of Jefferson Mills' quality, professionalism, prepared for every game, knows the audio side of it, right? Can fix stuff on the air, just gets it, and he's willing to work. He's willing to put in that work and grind it all out. I had a lot of fun working with Jefferson as much as we were able to during the NCDC championship. Can't wait to work with him next year.
Yeah, and for the young broadcasters out there watching, like Jefferson Mills, Brian Rascona, these are two guys you should be paying attention to, right? How are they successful? How are they able to do this full time? How are they able to travel the earth with a team like the South Shore Kings or PAL? it's a tireless work ethic, and it's willing to do anything, right? There's a willingness for them. I think if South Shore had a mascot, Jefferson would put he put the gear on if they asked him to. And I think Brian would do the same for PAL, right? I think they're both happy they don't have mascots. Don't have to do that, but I think they both would. And I know that they're cut from the same cloth we are, right? Where we'll do whatever it takes to do the right thing for those guys on the ice, for those families who invest all this time, all this effort, all this money to get to this level of the game. And that's it. That's our teams. All Dan K, all Lucas J. It's officially summer, Lucas. I'm in summer Dan K mode. I'm ready to go. I don't have any closing. I'm going to Lucas Jones this one. My parting words?
It's summer, baby. But that doesn't mean the Dan K show gets to rest. Quick, Dan, put your work hat back on. Put your work hat back on. We're not done yet. Okay, there we go. We still have more content that's going to come your way. We've got our scholarship announcements that are coming out next week. We've got our draft coverage next week. We're going to be doing audio podcasts and short video content pieces all summer long. We've got a little summer trip planned with a couple of young coaches. That should be fun. You'll definitely see some of that. And we'll be around. USPHL Nation will be in your neck of the woods, right? As Al Roker would say. I'm going to be taking trips to Minnesota, Dan K down in Florida. We're traveling around the country. Hockey may stop, but the Dan K show does not. When Dan K doesn't have parting words, it might be summertime. Thanks for watching this NCDC All Dan K Show selection. There will be more to come. Stay tuned at _Dan K Show all off season long.